Well, on to the other breaking story this evening. The U.S. military has launched new strikes against Iran. This comes after a U.S. Army attack helicopter was downed off the coast of Oman. Journalist Mitch McCann is in New York tracking developments, and he has the latest.
Yeah, and good evening from New York. Well, the US launched strikes on Iran shortly after 5 p.m. Eastern time this evening. And that news came from a social media post from US Central Command a little earlier this evening. It read that CENTCOM forces began launching self-defense strikes against Iran at 5 p.m. Eastern time today at the Commander-in-Chief's direction in response to yesterday's downing of a US Army Apache helicopter. It goes on to say that the mission is a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. Now, Ian, while this is a serious escalation, it's not exactly out of nowhere, because President Donald Trump foreshadowed this a few hours ago by posting about this helicopter incident where he said the two pilots who were patrolling the Strait of Hormuz were fine, but he added that nevertheless the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. And that response is what we've seen in the last couple of hours. Now, it's also important to note here that Iran hasn't actually claimed responsibility for the strikes at this point. Iranian state media has been reported to say that no aerial military operations had been conducted near the Strait of Hormuz in the last day. We're also seeing reports this evening that there have been a number of explosions along the Persian coast in the last hour or so. So those strikes being felt along the Persian coast. Plenty of unanswered questions in terms of how long these strikes will go on for, but nonetheless a serious escalation.
Okay, and tell us more about what we're hearing from the United States.
Yeah, well, look, the United States is really, being forceful here, saying that this is going to, they want to have a proportionate response. Donald Trump has come close, he has said, to signing a deal a number of times, but it seems we are far away from that now. It's also important to consider how this war is going to be received, or this escalation is going to be received domestically here in the United States. This war, it goes without saying, has been very unpopular here. Polls constantly show that most Americans did not think starting this conflict was a good idea. In fact, there's a new poll from Reuters in the last couple of days saying that only 36% of Americans, Ian, approve of US strikes on Iran. People here have seen gas prices and general everyday costs rise in part because of this. So it's not just a war for many people somewhere far away. It's having real-life impacts on families inside this country. And as I've mentioned, President Trump has said many times that a deal was almost complete, only to end up here this evening.
Mitch McCann in New York City, thank you.